Sonic Adventure DX. One of the biggest games in my childhood, one of the few Sonic games I truly loved, and the first to be featured on this channel with a challenge much harder than anticipated. I have not touched this game since I was a child, so revisiting it with a challenge was such a refreshing experience. I wanted to see if I had the wits to beat the game without collecting a single ring. We start off by Sonic sprinting along buildings to stare at a low-quality JPEG before getting distracted by a typical day in the city, catching Sonic's attention, leading us to the world's smartest police officers. Yeah, tell that alien blob of water to surrender. Great job, guys. Oh, and now you're shooting it. Nice. And this guy still shot a few times despite knowing his gun won't be effective. These are the heroes we need right now. Alright, time for the tutorial boss. Shouldn't be too bad. And Sonic, why did you touch the rings? The whole point of this challenge was to not touch them, you stupid hedgehog. I'm going to let Chaos Zero kill you now. It seems death was the correct option, as after respawning, we no longer have those rings collected. 3 homing attacks and some careful movement, Chaos Zero is defeated without any rings, escaping into the sewers, and then we learn that that thing is the god of destruction, the Big Drip. You know what? Sure. Being awoken from our nap, we see Tails die, so let's go to the beach in celebration. Being the first level, I genuinely thought this would be the easiest of the bunch to do without rings. But oh boy, my ignorance was bliss. But before the part that was literally hell, Sonic can do a spin dash in order to skip these springs with devious rings, and with a well-placed jump, return to where he was meant to go, loop the loop, and now things get a little bit tricky. You see, the game wants me to use the speed pads to zoom my way through the paths, as well as some rings. But with the interesting concept known as jumping and walking, we can negate these rings and avoid the ones on the rather tall ending. I was able to easily negate this very narrow segment with a well-timed spin dash jump, one of the best moves for this challenge and the game in general, and now we're at this section, the part I completely forgot about until recording this. The Orca chase with way too many rings. Most obvious answer, just jump over the rings. But the stupid freaking Orca is so stupidly fast that almost any distance lost at a slower speed will make it catch up to me and take me out in one hit. Every attempt is either landing on rings or getting one shot. Yeah, this wouldn't be easy. Then I got my first game over. So I had to do the entirety of the level up to this point again, and when I arrived, had only 1 life yet. Yeah, this is gonna be a doozy. Okay, dude, the Orca pushed me into the ring, come on, man. And I accidentally threw myself into the water. Nice, so I installed the one and only cheat I'll use this run, infinite lives, for my own sanity. There's no way I'm replaying the whole level every single time I collect a ring or die. Returning to the Orca, I start trying to make a plan. Keyword trying, over and over. That was until I finally did this. I finally made it past the first stretch, only failing due to some rings I did not anticipate to be on the path. Now this didn't mean I could replicate it with ease, not even close, and when I did get it again, I died on the launch pad. What the crap, how was that even possible? He even ate me as I was drowning. Another 20 minutes go by with no end in sight, both accidentally becoming rich and becoming live bait. However, I finally made a breakthrough-worthy discovery. This is a safe zone, so I can take however long I need in order to prepare, and I got launched into the void. But again, I actually have a plan. Well, a concept of a plan, as getting to the spot for the plan is still rather challenging even after being here for another 30 minutes, but thankfully, not even 3 minutes later, I got the run. Now I can finally move on and the spring has rings. Great, I must now find a different path to proceed. Thankfully, I shortly found out that you can just spin dash up walls if the angle is right, so eventually I was able to do just that and make my way to the second zone. This zone was a fresh of breath air, as no orcas try to kill us the whole way through, all the rings being a breeze to avoid up until this ramp. However, with a well-timed spin dash, Sonic can clear this gap, letting us proceed with some jump panels before what is the hardest part of Zone 2, this thin path of rings. But the hardest part of this zone is nothing compared to last zone, as Sonic can simply spin dash to the top of this loop, then one more spin dash, and we are out of here, finally saving Tails, who is probably dead at this point, completing Emerald Coast without a single ring collected. Wow, Tails, I'm surprised you're still alive after waiting for so long. Yeah, you bum, what took you so long? Hey man, at least I got there. My gold allergy is fatal after all, and some freak decided to throw rings everywhere. Okay, fine, I'll put that aside for now, but look at this cool rock I found. I'm gonna keep it in case it has some sort of chaotic energy or whatever. That would be dumb. It would probably be called a Chaos Emerald or something. Sonic, emeralds are green, you idiot. I'm going home. Wait, Tails, don't leave yet. I was just being stupid. Wait, come on, come back. So Mystic Ruins we go, but our arrival is short-lived with this egghead trying to steal our Chaos Emerald with the good old 5-finger coupon. But we won't let that happen. In fact, I know his speedrun strat in order to take him out with just a singular cycle. This game is weird, so you can just spam the jump button, defeating him with the singular phase, being no problem to defeat him without a single ring. Unfortunately for Sonic and Tails, Eggman used the forbidden 2-finger coupon instead, being the exact same but with 2 grippers instead of 5. So the Chaos Emeralds have now fallen into the wrong hands, but who cares about stopping him? Let's just stand around and be shocked and let his pet eat our rock. Why not? But I don't have time for this, so I grab this weird green key and make our way to our second stage. Wind Valley introduces us to a whole new challenge, and his name is Tails, who will be accompanying us throughout several other stages as well, this being the first and by far the easiest of the bunch. The start is quite the breeze up until we have to start using our depth perception skills in order to land some jumps without collecting any rings, but the jumps are still straightforward. Spin dash jump across this bridge and into the tornado we go. This is where I thought the run would end. Honestly, the base of the tornado you can just hit the spring, as well as all the jump panels without risking a single ring, but this trampoline. Right above it, on our descent up, there are rings blocking our path. No matter what I did, I collected them. That was until Tails showed me the way, the solution. The furthest part from the camera is the key to bouncing up without collecting any rings. Amazing! And from here it's just a trail of springs and we are free from the captivity of the tornado. The final zone by far causes the most issues, not because of Sonic, but because of Tails being the greedy little brat he is. It starts off relatively smooth, make sure to go around every bend as slowly as possible, and don't let rings catch you off guard. Use this rocket, and things are going amazing. Let's hope I can carry this momentum. I make sure to take the top path with this spring, as it leads almost straight to the top, then be careful at the top of the wind to not touch any of the golden donuts, taking us to the final part of the final zone. Make sure you jump across this gap rather than take the loop-de-loop. Don't realize Tail collected a ring. Then from here you can skip a huge chunk by just falling down. All the way down, and just like that. Follow the wind trail and the whole level is done with just one ring collected. Wait a minute. Tails? Why did you touch a ring without telling me? So I redid the entire level again from start to finish just to prove that I can beat it without touching a single ring. Thanks Tails for putting me through this all again due to your greed. It sure is a beautiful evening, perfect weather for a short jog down the streets. You know, maybe even the sewers, why the heck not? Well, would you look at that? A power-up that allows us to zoom and collect rings. Collect rings. Wait, no, this is bad. Why do we need this? Oh no, the only way to get out is to use rings. Crap, this can't be the end of the challenge, can it? No, it's not. As with enough precision and jankiness from the game, you can spin dash out of here the path the game intended, letting us keep our ring counter at 0.
You can go to the casino area at nighttime.
Oh brother, this game wants us to go gambling. The intended way to open up the casino is to light dash some rings to hit the button, but you can use this staircase instead to launch yourself high enough, letting Sonic in for free, leading us into This is the level I feared most. The game literally about gambling and depositing your money in order to collect the next Chaos Emeralds. So I needed to do some research, in which I learned that there's a glitch that can be used in order to skip the entirety of the ring collecting part of the stage. It's a simple yet precise glitch, but if you align Sonic in the right way, you can spin dash through the wall and hopefully onto the hidden gold. And before anyone mentioned Sonic's gold allergy he talked about earlier, this one's fine, as it's fake and cannot be collected. Then a few mandatory deaths later due to the learning curve of a new glitch, I can launch Sonic up and away in order to land where the emerald is, letting us not gamble in order to beat the entirety of the stage with 0 rings, being the shortest and easiest by far. And then we learn that if Eggman was a Pokemon, he'd probably be poison type, because look at this. Why would he need to do this to literal children just for a rock? I get it's for world domination, but dude! Unlocking the frozen door leads us to our next challenging stage. This opening of the stage sucked. Tails, screw you, leave me alone, do not male pregnant react me ever again. We're done. What? Every single time I tried to go through the only path ahead, Tails was so close behind that he always collected rings every single time. Tails! The only way I could get past was by literally committing child abuse, then speedrunning through the ring path before zooming my way as far as I could up the mountain as fast as I could, causing him to respawn. This was so stupid, but thankfully that's the biggest issue for this level. Sonic can easily spin dash jump to skip most of this zone, leading us inside to the mountain, in which, once again, Tails showed me the path. Maybe we can be friends, Tails. Maybe I can forgive you for all that. Using Tails' method wasn't easy, but allowed me to skip most of the level, eventually launching me to one of, if not the furthest checkpoint. Then I launched myself to the point to where I walked on air. Great, but not helpful, but also cool. Eventually, the strat was to hit Tails in the face, then spin dash jump over these rings and complete the loop to get to the jump pads. Jump, and now we are free to the final zone of the area, which was a cakewalk. It's a sick snowboard down the mountain, but I was lucky enough to do the entire slope on my first try without touching a single ring. Neat. Yo, hey Knuckles, what's up?
I'm going to kill you and then kill you again.
So yeah, there's a Knuckles fight, and it sure is the fight of all time. Worth every cent paid for this game, honestly. Yeah, if you haven't played this game, that's the whole thing. And worse, it leads to a fight that is actually somewhat difficult. That being the Chaos 4 due to Sonic and Knuckles being stupid and both dropping their emeralds conveniently for Eggman to swoop in, evolving his Pokemon once again. This fight is very stupid. Not fun stupid, not cool stupid, not silly stupid, just stupid. It took me nearly 15 minutes to defeat it without collecting a single ring due to its health A being higher than you would expect, and B, it changes up its moves when it has 1 HP left. But eventually, I was able to defeat it without having to collect a single ring. And apparently Eggman can build a massive, basically non-space spaceship with the technology to beam himself up, but needs 7 rocks for world domination. Right. Got it. Totally makes sense. Sup, Knuckles? How you feeling? Subscribe, hype the video, subscribe. Well, I gotta go. Please, just let me go. What's gotten into this guy? Please, Knuckles, just let me leave. Tails, I think something's gotten into Knuckles. No time for that. Look at this sick plane I built that can chase down Eggman with only 1 seat. Wait a minute. Sonic, you'll just have to hold on and don't die, or else I'll live with that on my conscience my whole life. Sky Chase Act 1 is a snorefest, for this challenge at least, as there isn't a single ring even available to collect to begin with, so I'll just skip over to the part to where we get shot out of the sky and die, being the end of the game. So, could I beat the whole game without collecting a single ring? Yes! Oh wait, we're still alive, never mind. Not sure how Sonic is still kicking after that fall, but apparently hedgehogs can fall around 20 to 30 feet without sustaining any damage. Don't quote me on that. Also, can this creepy little girl not stare at me pretty please? Oh crap, we better not be gambling again. Why are the police here? Oh, they're the workers on strike. Well, good luck guys, hope you get the rights you deserve. Aw crap, it's Amy. Sonic, screw you, I'm leaving you. Goodbye. Well, that sure was a surprise. Never speak to me again. Holy crap, I can go to Twinkle Park all by myself now, dude. This is amazing. This, in fact, was not amazing. In fact, I'd say the first half of this stage is a nightmare. It seems pretty simple and straightforward, but it felt like rolling a boulder up a hill. It took me 26 minutes to beat this level, 20 of which were just doing the opening section. As you already know, I die in one hit, even if inside the bumper car. So after every failed attempt, I have to make sure to kill everyone, the women and the children too, all just so I can start the race with 0 racers. And along this race, there are many rings just thrown out there for us to avoid, all showing up within short view distance due to this game being older than time itself. The worst part of it, this jump you need to go fast in order to clear it. Like the game just won't let you do it if you don't. But to keep things short, after 10 minutes, I finally completed the final jump, letting us proceed, and there's rings blocking the way. But you can see they're slightly off center and it didn't work. So I replayed the entirety of this portion again just to try again, this time using Sonic's jump cancel to inch my way further, until... Finally, after 20 minutes, I passed the first half of this level. Thankfully, the second half is too easy, maybe even a piece of cake in comparison. Instead of going the intended path, I was able to spin dash jump out the way we came in into a much later part of the level before hitting a checkpoint for safety. As stated before, the rest of this is a cakewalk. Don't take the top path due to the ring trail, carefully make this jump, and then after this spring, land on the edge just like that. You're basically at the end of the level, beating Twinkle Park without collecting a single ring. Wait a second, is that the Deltarune splat sound? Why do they sound so similar? I guess we'll never know. Time to commit some identity theft, picking up this lost key card, allowing us to enter. Speed Highway is by far the easiest level we'll encounter with the no ring challenge. There was never a spot I felt like could be a challenge, only ever restarting due to not paying my fullest attention to where rings are or because they caught me by surprise. Also being the shortest, coming in at 20 minutes to complete with this challenge. I know it still sounds long despite me saying it was the easiest. You can skip a huge chunk of the rings by just spin dash jumping onto this building before using your momentum to get to the highest of these 3 bridge things, then jump to this area, not sure what to call it, before neglecting the spring with the rings by just jumping instead. Make sure Sonic jumps before reaching the tower wall to avoid some rings, and make sure to play it safe within the tunnel, unlike how I did, the style points being 1000% worth it though. Boost past this thin ring path, die to the helicopter, reset, and then don't die to the helicopter. Then after this rocket, you're actually going to want to jump down instead of taking the path forward, as below is much more cheapskate friendly due to the wider spread between rings. Hold back the whole time through these boost scoops so you stop before hitting some rings, and voila! One more rocket and you are at the second zone. This zone you can very easily just hug the wall all the way down with 0 risk of rings, letting me make it to the final zone, which too was so simple and straightforward that I was able to complete it with my first attempt with 0 resets, beating Speed Highway without collecting a single ring. Returning to Mystic Ruins, we unlock the don't use this unless it's needed to move forward because it'll target rings, and after using it on the monkey guard, we enter Red Mountain. I'm not entirely sure how to describe this level other than that, very shortly into the level, you encounter the worst checkpoint in the game. I'll just play it out. Yeah, it made me have to restart the entire level. Rockets and springs are surprisingly your best friend here, as most of them don't give you any rings and give you the height needed to easily avoid the others, and don't use the suspended wires. All of them have rings. You can use the fan blades to progress forward after jumping off the 2, jump to the rock before spin dashing on the side to launch yourself. Then the rest is pretty smooth, just basic parkour. Even the seesaw part wasn't too terrible, just inch your way across the perimeter and you should be a-okay. It was smooth sailing until I reached the top of the mountain, in which I was like, Lamau, now what? The game wanted me to use the suspended wires to zip line my way down, but there are at least 2 rings to collect then, putting Sonic's life in jeopardy. But then a thought crossed my mind, it goes down, I can just go down, duh. And lo and behold, if you jump in the right spots, It works. I was able to get to the path of the zip line without having to collect the 2 rings, letting us start the inside of the mountain. Inside of Hell, our journey continues with much more careful platforming, both avoiding rings and the lava that rises as you continue through the level. This part of the level has almost no difficulty when it comes to avoiding the rings. However, it was mostly a patience game and skill game, with the platforming and me being naturally bad at platforming, which, doesn't help with this challenge. But I was able to succeed without touching and collecting a ring. And then it's Sky Chase Act 2, which is boring for this challenge once again, and Tails, being the stupid ignorant child he is, forgets to add landing gear to his plane, causing us to crash onto Eggman's carrier. Tails, you really are stupid. Sonic, I'm literally 10 years old and I built a plane, shut up. At the top of the carrier, we enter. Sky Deck was the worst level, period. Why? Tails! That's the one and only reason this level sucks as much as it does. Tails always following so closely behind and collecting all of the rings I jump over. That was until a thought crossed my mind. The path gets blown up and the rings fall into the deepest depths of hell. Maybe I can use this to my advantage in the aiding of the non-existent hunt for rings. Unsurprisingly, this plan actually worked for about 40 feet, then it doesn't anymore. Let me explain. At the end, if Tails dies, he'll respawn atop an area you cannot reach, and upon moving forward, he will always fall down and collect rings. Fun. Great. Like, what is this? Come on, Tails, why? After 7 whole minutes of resetting over and over, I had it down. I figured out the strat, committing more child abuse. After crossing the gaps, make sure you hit Tails to where he cannot make the jump, causing him to fly. This fly delaying his death and inevitable respawn, allowing us to speedrun the rest of the way without touching a single ring. Slide around these tubes, don't zoom up this ramp because you don't know if there are any other rings, spoilers, there actually are none, then finally reach the second checkpoint. Finally, let's hope it's smooth sailing from here. Thankfully, for now it actually is. There are no real ring challenges up until the next checkpoint, to where things get a little infuriating once again. Except I just lied because it's the area after this one taking a mere 4 minutes to master, mainly just theorizing which path would be the most optimal to take. Climb the ladder, duh, then you're going to want to get to the highest path and try your best to maintain it, as for some reason it just has less rings, but if you do fall, hope it's not onto any rings and you can just use the middle pillars to make your way back up. Unfortunately, I died and then got the middle path like a peasant, but with enough luck, Tails won't touch any, then you can climb your way up to the higher path, which only has rings above, not on the path itself, meaning we can run at full speed with no worries. Then just continue around, blow up the weapon, and time for Zone 2, which only took long because I was stupid, that's it. What? Obviously the dedicated path is not available due to rings, so I tried launching myself over and over, just barely not making it. If only I moved 15 feet to the left. Yeah, I just needed to spin dash here and it would have saved so much time. After destroying the rocket, we enter Zone 3. Again, most of this one was only long due to me being stupid and I didn't know which path to take, but to boil it down, take this elevator, but instead of going the intended path with a boatload of rings on a thin bridge, go back to the elevator and just spin dash jump towards the right hand side of the screen and boom, next checkpoint. From here you'll want to use these ramps to launch yourself and across these platforms, then speed your way to the top before it can tip to its side, making us so close to the end. However, rings! This game is coded weird. Whenever I took the left path, Tails would spawn on it and collect the rings. But when I took the right, he just kind of flew around for some reason. Thanks, Tails. So now I can just focus on jumping over these rings. Hit the button, and just like that, Sky Deck was completed without having to collect a single ring. And despite being outside of the carrier before we even started the level, we are already returning back outside. Great use of time, guys. But this time it's for a boss. Basically just being Knuckles all over again, nothing special or interesting. But now it's time to...
Go to the captain's room.
Which seems like this is the end of the run. The time we must finally collect rings in order to progress, as you have to get up using lightspeed dash, and there's no way to launch yourself like in the sewers, as well as the door back outside leading right inside is locked. So, Can I beat Sonic Adventure DX without collecting any rings? Yes, actually. So remember the casino? Yeah, so I just did that again and I was able to hit the loading trigger without collecting rings, and hit the button without having to collect any rings. Neat! The button causing the cruiser to transform into its original form, and now it's time for the Chaos 6 boss fight. This boss was actually literally nothing to note. Too easy. Piece of cake even. Going down without needing a single ring. Hey Sonic, I had this weird dream and woke up here. How did you even get up here? I don't know. Well, that was stupid. Anyways, we chase after Eggman, once again falling to somehow not our deaths to mystic ruins, watch a temple open up, not ominous whatsoever, and boom, time for the level. Lost World was by far the hardest Sonic level that doesn't include Tails. However, both of its hardest segments are far enough apart to where there is a nice break in between. The first not even being due to rings, but these stupid fire pillars that pop up and one-shot me, as well as the fact that they rotate, making it harder to survive. But of course, I am him, and eventually make my way all the way through, only with a few close calls, leading me to a checkpoint I can't even get. Great. So I must carry on in caution to the Snake Rock Chamber, which was quite literally nothing to note as you can just carefully press each button. That's kinda it. Then it's time for Zone 2, which is also the light room, which I struggled with a little too long with turning the lights on. Like, why is it so precise? I'm aiming it at the mirror, just light up the room. But overall, the light room ain't too shabby. Just be careful with your terrible depth perception skills and you should be A-O good. And by A-O good, I mean it took me 10 minutes to beat this singular room and make it to the next checkpoint. And this part was stupid, but mainly just memorizing where the rings were and swerving left and right over and over to miss them. And whatever you do, do not take the springs, just carefully jump across the teeny tiny platforms instead. The Indiana Jones boulder is not really an issue, just turn the camera and that's it. Just run and jump like any other level. Much easier than the orcas were. And once again, this part only took a really long time due to me being, say the word Bart, stupid! And uncareful and inexperienced, but mainly stupid. Each of the wall panels should be traversed as slowly as humanly possible, as the rings are thrown down the middle of a good chunk of them, and don't try to stand on the spike thruster. Worst mistake of my life. Alright, finally, after all that, I'm at the top, and I fell. Once I did actually make it to the top, the game led me to a trail of rings to progress. But then another thought crossed my mind. The last checkpoint is on the same wall as where the game wants me to go, so I should be able to just jump there, right? Yes, and it was really easy to do until I was just stupid and died. Finally, in the final zone, I was able to beat Lost World without collecting a singular ring. After a weird dream where we learned Chaos killed not just the men, but the women and the children too, I wake up back in the Mystic Ruins, watch Eggman fly off and enter his not-so-secret base in order to solve the world's hardest, easiest puzzle before entering the last level. The end is nigh. One last level to complete without a singular ring, and I will have beaten the entirety of Sonic's campaign in Sonic Adventure DX without collecting a single ring. Final Egg. For being the final stage, this one was actually one of the easiest so far. Not the easiest, but nowhere near as hard as some of the others. Unfortunately, I cannot nab this first checkpoint due to the massive rings inside it. However, avoiding the lasers is quite easy, and dying to these guys is also easy. Funnily enough, these spikes just don't have collision on one side, so you can just, do that, leading to the second zone, the hardest part of Final Egg. You see, after some basic parkour, the game decides the only way to progress is through narrow tunnels splattered with rings and boost pads that zoom you in the direct path of said rings. I was able to clear it, however, this was the easiest of the tunnels we will encounter. And thankfully, there's a checkpoint, and after some more basic jumps, more tunnels. This one being worse by being longer and having more rings. Too many rings, in fact. Not that this is impossible, just super, duper, super, duper, super, pooper, super annoying. And for the one time I made it at the bottom, the button is covered in rings. Fantastic. So glad I wasted so much time to answer no, I cannot beat the game without collecting rings. Except I lied to you. So remember the casino? Yes, I am clipping out of bounds again, and apparently this was the best thing ever, as it allowed me to both skip the tunnel and pressing the button, leading me straight to the third zone, being 1.5 million times easier than the second zone. As after a short elevator, I kid you not, it only took 2 whole real-life minutes to finish. Climb the ladder, float across the fans, not zoom up this ramp despite it being safe from rings, then just be careful not to touch any of the ring boxes on the ground, hug the wall, a few more basic spin dash jumps, skip these rings, and just like that, final egg is conquered without a single ring required. Oh wait, there's still a little bit more runtime? Oh yeah, the final boss, Egg Viper. First phase, you can just run to avoid the beams, hit him, and then the second phase, he pulls out the Beyblades. The hitboxes kinda suck. I somehow didn't die twice despite hitting the spikes, hit him more, and he's dead. So, can I beat Sonic Adventure DX without collecting any rings? Yes, I can. Subscribe if you haven't, and comment if you want me to try this with any of the other characters. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and a good night.